This presentation is around policy number 22, Code of Conduct, raising the bar to excellence. Use of individual phone and personal cell phone. The use of the supported person's telephone is restricted to business use only. For example, appointments, pharmacy, TJ Swift House personnel. Personal calls are prohibited. The use of personal cell phone while on duty should be limited to business needs for the persons being supported. Talking or texting while transporting persons supported is strictly prohibited. Cell phone usage that interferes with work performance may result in disciplinary actions that may result in termination. Smoking and vaping. Smoke breaks may only be taken when level of supervision per the ISP can be assured. Staff smoking in the person's home is prohibited. Support staff should not smoke in the vicinity of persons served if that person does not smoke themselves. Smoking in the company vehicle is prohibited. Dress and personal hygiene. Clothing should be clean as you are a representative of TJ Swift House and an advocate for the people we support. Clothing should be modest. TJ Swift House defines this as no plunging necklines, no sheer clothing to enable the visibility of seeing undergarments, no extremely low waistlines, no suggestive and/or inappropriate slogans or advertisements. Shorts, skirts, and dresses should be knee length or more. More specific requirements may be designated if there are sexual issues or strong role model needs in the home. The team leader may also require that band-aids or tape be worn to cover piercings due to physical behavior issues in the home. For shift homes, staff are always required to wear shoes while on duty. Enclosed shoes may be required due to behavioral issues or physical requirements in the home. Good hygiene is required by all employees. This includes well-kept hair, good oral hygiene, and good body hygiene. Poor hygiene, including body odor, could lead to the staff being asked to leave the home. Failure to comply with dress and hygiene requirements may result in disciplinary action. Stealing. Taking any food, clothing, furniture, money, supplies, etc. is considered stealing from either the individuals we support or the agency. If it has been determined that an employee has stolen, TJ Swift House Incorporated will pursue legal action and the employee will be terminated. It is also misuse of consumer funds if the stolen items belong to a supported person and will be reported to the Department of Mental Health. Social media. Social media may not be used to discuss any private information that involves consumers who receive services from TJ Swift House or people who are employed by TJ Swift House. This includes, but is not limited to, general posts or private messages on all social media sites. As a member of TJ Swift House, you are required to be a role model in our agency during work hours. After hours, you are encouraged to be a role model as a representative of TJ Swift House. Any posts or pictures on social media can be scrutinized, and if determined inappropriate, it may lead to disciplinary actions. Illegal activity. Illegal activity while off duty can be scrutinized and can lead to disciplinary actions leading up to termination. Illegal activity could include, but not limited to, drinking with minors, driving while under the influence, driving while intoxicated, illegal drug use, robbery, etc. Foul language. The use of foul language while on duty or speaking to a person being supported in a demeaning or derogatory manner will not be tolerated by TJ Swift House Incorporated and leaves the employee subject to termination. Absenteeism. An absentee employee who fails to notify the immediate supervisor of his or her inability to report for duty as scheduled, also known as no call, no show, is subject to being terminated from employment. Excessive absenteeism without a doctor's excuse may result in termination. Obtaining call-in staff on regular basis to cover a specific shift may result in termination. For example, frequently calling another staff member to cover weekend shifts. Tardiness. Frequent tardiness will result in written warnings, then possible termination. Professional conduct and respectful attitude. Employees are always expected to conduct themselves professionally and exhibit a respectful attitude while on duty. Examples of unacceptable behavior include being argumentative, resistant to direction, general rudeness, disrespectfulness. Employees who are unprofessional in their conduct or who exhibit a disrespectful attitude are subject to disciplinary action, which could result in termination. Use of personal belongings. Anything owned by the people we support cannot be utilized by an employee for his or her personal use. Example, clothing, radio, lawnmowers, etc. Staff is encouraged to have a change of clothing in their vehicle in the event of an accident or other circumstances where change of attire is necessary. Staff is not allowed to borrow items from the people we support. To do so would make staff subject to allegation of misuse of funds or property of the consumer as defined by abuse and neglect definitions. The staff would also be subject to termination, and inquiry and/or investigation could result. Visitors while on duty. Staff is not allowed to have visitors in the homes of the people being supported without written consent of the team. If permission for visitors has been granted by the team, the time will be limited and must not interfere with staff's work. Also, keep in mind that the privacy of the consumers is very important and it must be respected. Personal property is to be respected and each person's personal information is not to be discussed with visitors. This would be considered a breach of confidentiality. Staff is encouraged to bring their own food, drinks, etc. needed while on assigned shift. If staff have items brought to them while at work, the person bringing said items is not allowed inside the home or to linger outside of the home. Any breach of this policy is subject to disciplinary action. Marketing. Marketing will be limited to brochures, business cards, informational websites, and advertisements. No offers or incentives such as gifts, bonuses, rewards is allowed. Employees who do not follow this policy are subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Remuneration. Offering valuable gifts to potential consumers to influence their choice of a Medicare or Medicaid provider is strictly prohibited. Under the Social Security Act, enacted as part of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, a person who offers or transfers to a Medicare or Medicaid consumer any remuneration that the person knows or should know is likely to influence the consumer's selection of a particular provider practitioner or supplier of Medicare or Medicaid payable items or services may be liable to civil penalties up to $10,000 for each wrongful act. The Office of Inspector General has interpreted the prohibition to permit Medicare or Medicaid providers to offer consumers inexpensive gifts, other than cash or cash equivalents, or services without violating the statute. For enforcement purposes, inexpensive gifts or services are those that have a retail value of no more than $10 individually and no more than $50 in the aggregate annual per person. It is inconsistent with the values of Swift's ISL, TJ Swift House, to offer any potential or current supported individual any incentive to select TJ Swift House or continue using TJ Swift House as a Medicare Medicaid provider. For this reason, any incentive is strictly prohibited. People will have the freedom to select a provider based on the company values and available services. Employees who do not follow this policy are subject to disciplinary actions up to and including termination. Solicitation. Policy on solicitation of supported individuals from other providers. While there is no statute or contract issue with solicitation of supported individuals from another provider, it is inconsistent with the TJ Swift House values as an agency. People should make decisions about their provider based on ability to meet their needs. TJ Swift House values and availability of services under TJ Swift House contracts. We will not accept a person who has not chosen us as a provider freely. Solicitation of supported individuals is strictly prohibited. Employees who do not follow this policy are subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination.